Along the Holston River's watershed, near where Beaver Creek flows under Fairview Street, stands the remains of one of Bristol's oldest buildings. Construction began in 1898. By 1901, the doors of the Columbian Paper Company opened for the first time. For Bristol, this was more than a building. It was opportunity, a lifeline and a symbol of progress. From the first whistle, the mill set the rhythm of the town.
According to my mom, my grandfather worked there nearly all his life. She said that it was always just referred to as the pulp mill.
Bristol grew where rail and river met. The growth was an extension from another branch of the Columbian Paper Company. That mill was completed in the early 1890s, and its location was right on the banks of the Maury River in Buena Vista, Virginia. The rail lines moved timber, the rivers powered machinery, and together they made a new kind of prosperity. But the real story isn't just industry, it's people. In early 1910, a woman sent a postcard north to a friend in Ohio. She wrote,
"Delighted to hear from my park friends. Hope you've had a Merry Christmas and that the new year will be a most prosperous one."
It's a simple note, sure, but it reminds us that even as the mill was taking shape, Bristol's connections stretched far beyond its borders.
What started as a single enterprise soon became the heartbeat of this side of town. Homes went up within sight of the smokestacks. Corner stores stayed open late for shift workers, and the whistle set the cadence of daily life, even for those who never set foot inside.
Inside was heat and motion. Conveyors rumbled, steam hissed through pipes. Rollers turned wet fiber into something strong enough to carry words across a nation. The smell, wood, chemicals, damp, it settled into clothes and hair. Shifts ran long, but a paycheck meant security in a place where security wasn't always promised.
When I was a boy, I stood on the bridge and watched the water turn yellow from the pulp mill's waste. The stench carried across the city. At noon, the whistle cut through everything. For a lot of folks, it was a good place to get a job, steady work, even if it was hard.
My aunt lived near this plant, and I remember when we would visit her, the odor from the plant was terrible.
The mill brought contradictions, paychecks and pollution, pride and cost. But for generations, it held the center alive here. At its height, the papers called its payroll stupendous, a testament to how deeply the mill ran through Bristol's economy. But by 1933, in the depths of the Depression, production slowed to a crawl. For the first time, the promise of steady work felt uncertain.
My dad worked there in the late 40s. He would get awful boils on his skin from the solution used there. He walked back and forth to his job every day to support our family. May he rest in peace.
Through the 1940s, the mill tried to hold the line. Ads went out for peeled pulpwood. Management even considered hiring Negro labor, a controversial measure that revealed just how desperate things had become.
You can feel the strain in the records. Shorter schedules, New appeals for workers, shifting markets. The world was changing around a mill designed for an earlier age.
In its heyday, trains used to run right through here all day and not.
One day it's work, the next day it's padlocks.
The Buena Vista plant, once busy with the same relentless rhythm as Bristol, would close its doors in 1949. A 1941 receipt survives, a quiet marker of a chapter that ended before this one. Its closing cast a long shadow. If Buena Vista could go quiet, Bristol might one day follow. A loss the town would not forget. One name among many, but one that people still speak. The news spread quickly. Edward Orr, gone in an instant. Just 18 years old with a lifetime still ahead of him. The pulp mill was hard work, but honest work. For Edward, it was a way to help his family, to carve out a place in the world. Days later, the town gathered at a small church. Friends, neighbors, and fellow mill workers stood side by side, mourning a life cut far too short. Edward Orr was laid to rest, entrusted to God's care, and to the memory of all who knew him. By the early 1950s, the mill felt slower. Long pauses between orders, machines standing quiet. It was as if the heartbeat of the town itself had grown irregular, skipping between bursts of noise and stretches of silence. Workers found themselves sent home early, shifts shortened, paychecks thinner. Lunch pails sat untouched, ledgers filled with blank spaces. Each silence inside the mill seemed louder, carrying the weight of what was coming. Newer plants elsewhere were faster, cleaner, cheaper. Bristol's mill remained proud, but aging. While other towns embraced modern machines, here the days dragged on. Orders slowed and whispers of closure began to ripple through the community. The mill was still alive, but everyone could feel it. It was running on borrowed time. The announcement came by a letter addressed to all employees. Division Manager J. Frank Key wrote that it had become harder and harder to find customers for their product. The market for soda pulp was no longer large enough to keep the Columbian Division operating at a reasonable and efficient rate. For this reason, Meade has reluctantly decided to shut down the Columbian Division. Each scene told the story of closure as surely as production ever did. The manager dictating, the secretary typing, the addressograph stamping, hourglasses of time running out. And then the last shift ended. For the men and women who called it the pulp mill, this was not just the end of a shift. It was the closing of a door that would never open again. After closure in 1954, the building sat vacant, a hollow shell of its former self. It endured fires, standing scarred but unbroken. By the early 1960s, the building found new purpose. TENNEVA Frozen Foods, already established in Bristol, expanded into the old mill. The cavernous halls that once held steaming vats were remade into freezing rooms and conveyor lines. Trucks bearing the TENNEVA name fanned out across the region, carrying Bristol's industry into kitchens everywhere.
TENNEVA served many school cafeterias as far away as Carroll County, Virginia.
For more than 3 decades, TENNEVA gave the mill a second life. But by the late 1990s, competition and consolidation closed the chapter. In 1997, the doors shut once more and silence returned to Fairview Street. After TENNEVA, the mill stood vacant, scarred by time and neglect. Windows broke, weeds rose, and fires burned through its walls. The building's metal has been tried and tested. Bristol's fire and emergency services were called here again and again. Their reports speak of rubbish fires, dumpster fires, and blazes that threaten the structure itself. Each entry is another reminder of a landmark left vulnerable, yet still refusing to fall. Explorers and wanderers have passed through, their cameras capturing the emptiness, their footsteps echoing where machines once thundered.
Hello? Now we've ventured to the other building below the smokestack.
Its walls sheltered both industry and imagination. To some, it is a relic. To others, it is a promise waiting to be fulfilled. The machines are gone, the walls stand hollow, but the echo of the whistle still hangs in the air, reminding us that this was and always will be where the whistle echoed.